evening, City Council. May you please stand and join us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone here tonight who is not on the agenda who'd like to address council?
Yes.
Okay, so Ryan will take you up after the regular business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our first item is the citizens' comments. I don't think, did anyone up there say? Okay, thank you. The first item under citizen comments, David Boland, to address the council regarding homelessness. Please step to the mic.
My name is David. For those of you who don't know me, Cherokee Hooligan Homeless, I didn't call it medicine, and although that's kind of a...
Can you speak into the mic, please? It's a little hard to hear.
You can pull it up.
Up a little bit, yeah. Okay, is that better?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, because they'll want to hear you on that.
All right, so on what authority do I have to speak about the homeless situation? Well, I've been homeless a little over a year myself, and I'm living proof that anyone in this room, anyone listening to my voice, can be homeless. You don't have to do anything wrong. The government makes a mistake, tramples your civil rights, you can easily be on the streets. It could be any one of your children living out there. It could be yourself. And I wonder why we commit probably not even half the resources necessary to combat homelessness. And the proof of this is there's a waiting list in just about every phase, whether it's to get into an apartment, get into a motel. I walked here from Oklahoma 2 months ago. I arrived. It took me 2 months to get here. And one thing I saw was in every community I passed through, lack of resources, waiting list, not enough housing. And then, so if we're not ready to commit the necessary resources to effectively get people off the streets, then I wish the communities would stop bullying and harassing with the hurting of citizens through laws. I mean, these are human lives that rather than dedicate whatever it takes, which used to be the American way of taking care of each other. We used to, whatever it takes for American lives, for human lives. Now we don't even put forth half the effort it takes to get them off the streets and then to complain when they lose hope. Now, if you don't give people the necessary resources, you're only setting them up to fail. And most of the homeless people have figured that out. And instead of seeing people genuinely help and care, they hurt them. They punish the whole for the actions of the few. I'm not saying that there aren't people in the homeless community that don't tear apart public property, that aren't a menace. I wish we could do something about them ourselves sometimes. The vast majority of the people that are homeless, they're not bad people, but they get treated as though they are. Denied some of the basic necessities. There's no place to go to the bathroom for the homeless people anywhere at night. And you have to walk miles just to go to the bathroom. Is that anything any of y'all have ever had to put up with? Is there anyone here that's ever been homeless on this council? No? But yet you guys herd our population around, pass laws, make it more difficult on us, basically kicking a population that's already down. And we're already called the less fortunate for a reason. I'm fortunate. I've obtained a little bit of employment and a little bit of shelter. It's a shed. It's something I'm proud to have. Last night I gave up my last blanket to somebody who wasn't as fortunate as me. I don't normally brag about the things I do for other people, but if I can go around and help others, I fail to see why so many people in the community, so many more resources, can't. I'd like to know why this city continues to harass the homeless rather than help, why it bullies. I didn't know bullying was an American way either. Thank you.
Thank you. Ronnie, would you like to come up and address council now?
Sure. for thee and not for me. First, I'd like to say thank you for getting a container for the people's belongings. There are so many codes being broken in town, but no one is being held responsible. Today was a great example as the code enforcer sits across man fishers, watching and waiting. He witnessed a crazy man driving recklessly and never reported it because I was told he was not a victim. There are businesses that have broken windows, weeds all around them, their buildings. The town could be making money off of this also, and of course making it look a little nicer. But again, no one is held responsible or even cares. Another person told me they seen Team 1 following others around, waiting and watching. Following them is not appropriate. Some would rather see that $60,000 be put towards another officer. Unfortunately, Schaefer is now telling some they cannot shower on East Side. This is inhumane. If we took care of each other and used our gifts, you would not have job security. Why don't we use our gifts? Agencies are not following through and helping the people the right way. I witnessed my homeless son go through 48 hours of withdrawal. They were too hard for him to handle, and he gave in to the evil fentanyl. I have hope. He will not give up. It is much harder than you think, and if you have never gone through it, you will never know. Or even if you've never even watched somebody go through it. Being cruel to the people will not make, being cruel to people will not help make, being cruel to the people will not help. It makes it worse. There's so much more that I would like to say, but I'll leave you at this. And this is the People's Park for every walk of life. Thank you.
Thank you. It brings us to City Council report, committee report.
I don't know if you know, but sleep deprivation is a real hard thing to battle on the streets. If you do happen to find a place that you feel safe enough to fall asleep, you can't stay asleep very long because it's usually on concrete or some other hard surface, and you've got the weather and the elements that keep you awake, and so that's just another problem that you guys I'm not even sure if you're considering long-term effects of sleep deprivation on people, especially the longer they've been in the homeless community, worse they're going to get. If the sleep deprivation can lead to serious psychological psychosis and numerous mental health problems that drastically affect your streets. But the property owners of these empty buildings could easily get tax write-offs, grants to help remodel the buildings, and there's just tons of property I see that's just sitting around wasting away that could go for any number of uses. No reason for it to just sit there and waste. The only reason that it would be is that property owners just simply don't want to use it for a good purpose. They want to use it for something else, who knows what. But I keep hearing people say that the community don't have the resources. And that may be true, but just because the community may not have the resources doesn't mean that homeless people should suffer. And they should be punished, the whole population, for acts of a few. That's no different than putting the Japanese in internment camps just because they were Japanese inside American borders in World War II. That wasn't right, but yet we did it to the homeless people because they're easy to ignore. They have no voice, they have no support, they have no resources. I'd like to remind the community that here recently there's been a policy where they've been taking the possessions that they happen to leave, which they have so few anyways. They happen to leave them in public, which is where their home is. they can leave their possessions out there. They would stand a good chance of coming back, find everything else they have wiped away yet again. This time, the city's giving them tickets that are over $1,000. The homeless person, do any of y'all really expect that to be paid? I didn't think so. That's just further kicking them way down. You know, if I saw everybody looking down at me, didn't think anything of me, and didn't want to be around me, didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to get to know me and start passing judgments on me, I wouldn't care if you saw me smoking a joint in front of your kids either. No one wants to point the finger at somebody else, but nobody wants to point the finger at themselves. Do they do everything right? No. They make their mistakes too. Didn't Jesus say, don't buck on the person with a timber in their eye if you get, or with a splinter in their eye if you get your own timber? Something along those lines? I think you know what I'm talking about. You ain't perfect yet. No, don't cast any stones. There are plenty of resources in the community that can be utilized, that are just wasting away.
Like the buildings and things?
That's just a start. It may be employees, like the shelter in Okanogan. And it's only open on Saturdays, just for a few hours. There's really no shelter to speak of. When they do open up shelters, most of the time they won't let people in with pets. You know, Doggy Oak is pretty much like a daughter to me. Really the only family I got. She walked half a country with me. I wouldn't go. If you give me an option between sleeping outside with her or sleeping in the bed and losing her, I'd take that bed and shove it, you know where. But they don't think about that when they make them give up that animal. That's their family.
No, I don't disagree. There are some shelters in different areas, obviously not in this county that I know of, that do have let people have animals, but each area is different. And then I just have a question. I know people have talked to me, and I know I've experienced it over the years. I've been here since 2003 when I bought my house in Omak. Just seeing the difference with Civic League Park. I know that's been a topic for years.
Mm-hmm.
Went by it the end of last week, walking home after the movie, and hearing people cussing, which it is what it is. There was probably 15, 16 individuals that, you know, were just kind of going back and forth and so on and so forth. Most people sticking by themselves, which is fine. I can care less. People can utilize the park, okay? But when my husband has to drive by us and wait for me and my 8-year-old daughter to go by the park on Ash Street and Central to make sure we're safe before he drives the rest of the way home, that's a concern. It's a concern to me because I was a cop for 17 years before doing stuff right that I currently work. Okay, so I know for the most part I can probably take care of myself and I can take care of my kids. But the concern is I have lots of people that have concerns that won't go to the park, won't go to the library, and so how do we find that happy medium where people aren't afraid to come to the park when there's other people there, right? People of all walks of life. I got no issues with that. I'm trying to figure out how do we help people, and I'm good with helping people because people need help at different times in their life. But how do we also make it safe where people feel comfortable to bring their kids? Because I have lots of people that won't bring their kids to that park anymore, that actually go to Eastside Park, then come to Civic League Park.
Understand that. First thing is, I would say, are you sure you've seen what you see? And the reason I say that is, I don't know how much time you spend around natives, but we tend to be honoring with each other, to say the least. And what might appear as aggression to some people, if they paid real close attention, they would realize it's just ribbing. I'm not saying that's the case in all circumstances, but I do know that there are several of the guys down there, and they do rib in very aggressive ways that sometimes even have me going, are they about to fight? And I know they're not, but it's just the way they are. And it's like, so I would question yourself, are you seeing what you're seeing? Is this truly the way these people are, or are you seeing a false perception of them? So many times in life, we're quick to jump on that false perception of somebody, say, this is the way they are. You really haven't even gotten to know them. We've all seen it. I mean, how many times have you met somebody that you didn't like right off the bat, and then later on, they turn out to be your best friend, because you've gotten to know them. And that's the false perception. And I'm just wondering how many people are quick to jump at that false perception and say, this is the way the homeless community is, and not actually take time to get to know them. Because I'm going to tell you too, I don't know any community members except for Ronnie and a few others that happen to take the time out of their day and they spend their own money to come down and just check on people and get to know them. And when they do get to know them, I'm sure Ronnie could probably tell you that quite a few of them are not the animals that they've been made out to be by the majority of the public. I mean,
as I stated, most aren't. Most are perfectly fine, but there's others that
there's the
create
few.
that, and
There's
so that's
always
what
gonna
I'm
be a
trying to.
few.
There'll always be a few. So then, how do we work together?
That is
That's
something
the
we'll have
key.
to work together on, but
Right.
the key is working together on it, not harassing.
So
And that's
that's
the
my question:
deal.
is how do we do that, and where people feel comfortable, right?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is sitting down and talking. Don't get anywhere without that. But that's not what we're getting in the homeless community. We're getting just harassed. Right now they're trying to shut down manifestors. I understand the trash is an issue, but to be fair about it, you know how many times I see them trash cans full for 2 or 3 days before somebody comes by and empties them? How do they expect the trash not to be all over the park if they can't empty the trash cans? That's a daily occurrence. And then if you do pick up the trash cans, pick up underneath them. They're not cleaning out the stalls in them. They're doing their job half-heartedly, which is much like they try to tackle the homeless issue in a half-hearted fashion. Since when we do anything half-hearted and expect results.
But I have seen and watched the bathrooms over there, not all the time, right? Where there's no way I would go in after them. When I'm seeing people,
agree.
couples, doesn't matter what gender, and those things concern me. So it's trying to find those happy mediums, right?
Yeah.
Of even just telling people, hey, listen, these are public restrooms, if people can go in, any gender, right? I'm good with that. But when people are, rummaging in their clothes, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna, I just don't know how to, just trying to find that happy medium,
These
right?
are people, I understand, and these are people that have had years of experiences and dealt with the community, and the community has basically given them no hope and an I don't care attitude, and that's exactly what they're giving back. I mean, I wouldn't expect the homeless to step forward first, because they've already lost everything and got nothing to lose. They really don't care anymore. They've lost hope. That's why so many of them don't even try. They know it's a half-hearted effort. It's a common theme I've seen all the way across the country, the lack of support, resources. Down in Oklahoma, they give you 3 weeks in a motel, and if you didn't have a job and a full place to live, by the end of that 3 weeks, you were right back on the streets. The stupid part was that almost every single place in town had at least a 6-month waiting list just to get in. So that's just how drastic the resources are, even in the housing environment. And I kind of wonder if in the real estate, if that's not just a result of greed. If they flood the house with too many, the housing market with too many houses, man, the price goes down. But now we would have adequate housing for everybody. What's more important, profit or human lives? It's a simple question.
Thank you. And I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions or any thoughts on that. If that was okay with you.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm just curious how many vacant buildings would be accessible potentially, if that's even something that's on your guys' radar. Or also, in addition to that, whether or not there is potentially, I know summer is going to be coming to an end, but it got hot, and seeing people out there struggle, even if there was just a place to go that was shaded, that they could have access to, restrooms and some kind of a resource during the day when it gets to that temperature. Those kind of resources would be extraordinary. And if you can set aside a little bit of those resources and try to allot them so that people have access to them, it would be a huge help for the community, and it would be a major help to those people that do not have access to those resources. So,
And what was your name?
I'm Scott Yonts.
Okay.
I think that if the community can step in those ways, that those things are important. I'm not saying that I, have access to the resources that you guys know about. For instance, when there was the fire, the Brooks Tract fire recently, there was a Red Cross shelter set up at the middle school. And I know that, there wasn't school in session and that those resources were available, but something like that, when it gets to a point where people who are unhoused have a resource, is critical. And you guys make those decisions, and you guys can put those steps forward. Homeless people cannot, when it's hot, just come in and say, hey, oh, we need a place, and then it get figured out. So I think part of the problem is in addressing things that are in our community, the things that we need more of, is to have those resources available so that you can see how well they're being used. Because without that access and without knowing what we need to do, the people who are going through those struggles are blind to them. There's nobody to tell people where to go, how to get these resources, what is available. Like me, luckily I do have a home and I'm not on the street. But if I was on the street, finding those resources, accessing those things is innumerably more difficult than it should be. And I think that I'm not trying to put it all on you guys.
No, I think it's a county.
Totally.
It's a county.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just the city of Omak. I don't think it's just one designated city. I think it's the whole county as a whole. If we all work together,
Agreed.
To figure out how this works.
Yeah. I do think that there are resources that you have access to and that you know about, and that using those resources in an appropriate way needs to happen in the first place, and then we can understand how to use them better, is what I'm saying. Thank you.